Guys, my name is Sean Brown, and I'd like to talk about vaping, specifically in people college age and younger. So, according to the CDC, 3% of middle school and 14% of high school students reported current vape use in 2022. These statistics might not seem that significant, but really anyone starting to vape at such a young age can have detrimental effects on their health in the future. The issue of vaping falls under the issue areas of drug regulation and healthcare. Vape use has continued to grow since the product's entry in the mid-2000s, and while less harmful than cigarettes, they still are quite harmful to anyone, but specifically to young people. I believe that increased education and a ban on the sale of flavored vapes can greatly decrease the percentage of young people using vapes. For my policy, I'd like to focus on the state college area with a two-part policy. The hope is that success for my policy will lead to similar policies in other areas around the country. The first part, falling under the jurisdiction of the school board, would require schools to increase their education on the dangers of vaping and the side effects that can come with it. The second part, falling under the jurisdiction of the local or state government, would ban the sale of flavored vapes to reduce the motivation that young people have to start vaping. When it comes to causes, there's not necessarily one main cause, but rather a bunch of smaller ones. One is that kids don't really understand the fact that sustained vaping can have both short-term and long-term effects on their health. Another is that vapes have certain appeals that other tobacco products don't. The CFAH, which is the Center for Advancement of Health, reported in a study that 61% of kids claim that they vape for experimental reasons, and 41% claim that they did it because they tasted good. This concept of flavor and having like fruit flavors in vapes is something that's really appealing to young kids and is a big reason why they get drawn in to start vaping. And then another is that the advertisement of vapes kind of takes advantage of the lack of knowledge that young people have on the product. Companies will advertise vapes as a healthy alternative to cigarettes, and while, like I said, they are better than cigarettes, they still are not good at all for your health, and it leads kids on to believe that vapes aren't bad for you at all. And one of the scary things about vaping is that many of the side effects are still unknown because of how new the product is. One thing we do know is that vaping can lead to nicotine addiction, and there are a few health side effects that have been discovered already. The CDC reported that nicotine, which is found in 99% of vapes that are sold, can harm the adolescent brain, which develops until the age of around 25. If you're thinking about middle schoolers vaping, that's like 13, 14-year-olds, so that's roughly half of their brain development that could be affected by nicotine. Drugs.com also found evidence to show that vapes can be a gateway, so kids who start vaping are more likely to transfer to cigarettes or other drugs later in their life. And then the CFAH found people who vape to be 71% more likely to have strokes, 110% more likely to be diagnosed with clinical depression, and 47% more likely to have sleep deprivation. All these side effects really can't be worth the risk of vaping. And the unfortunate truth is that our generation is kind of serving as lab rats right now because there's so many effects that are still unknown. And we should want to be remembered for taking action to decrease vaping and not for, being lab rats and having tests in the lab to show the side effects. So growing up, I don't know about you guys, but I got a ton of education on cigarettes, all the dangers that come with them. This came from my parents, school, advertisements. And this being exposed to that information at such a young age kind of led me to stay away from cigarettes for my whole life. I never got anything like this for vaping because, of how new the product is. So my policy, I'd like to have school boards require curriculum on vaping, whether that be through health class, other classes, or having outside presentations come in. And I think this should start in elementary school because giving kids this information on vaping before they're actually exposed to vapes in middle and high school could lead them to stay away from vapes in their later life. And then, as I mentioned, the flavor of vapes is a big factor in why kids start to vape, so banning flavors would reduce the motivation that they have to start. This still allows vapes to be sold because it's too much to ask to completely ban the sale, because that would, negatively affect the producers, distributors. So this still allows them to be sold, but would hopefully reduce the number of young people who wanted to buy vapes or start vaping. Brookings.edu stated that 7 states have already put a similar ban in place or plan to do so in the near future, which gives credit to the plausibility of this part of my policy. To wrap up, without any action, people are going to continue to start vaping at a young age, and the percentages of those who do will only increase. As you can see, vape rates among adolescents kind of gradually grew until 2019. They took a big drop when the pandemic hit, but as we've come out of the pandemic, they've started to rise again, and that trend will likely continue. There's so many consequences that vaping can have on health and the future of our generation and those that follow us. And I think that our generation should try to decrease vaping through our actions, not as the test subjects. I don't know about you guys, but I personally don't want to be the picture of the black, damaged lungs that they show at an anti-vaping convention, 50 years from now. Thank you.